everybody could just take a moment and review the bill. Anyone has any questions? Yeah, and I assume since this October balance, we were receiving some substantial reaction in November. Yeah, okay. So we're good for the bill. Want to handle them all as one. Other than previous.
Sean, we bought 100 tons of rock salt to get ahead on the next contract, right? We're on the new salt contract, right? The year changed over, so we bought 100 of our 240. So we're in really good shape as far as that goes. So there's a $7,373 liquid fuels charge, and we do have money to cover that. Everything else is pretty standard. Our standard stormwater bills. So I'll make a motion to pay all the bills as is, with the exception of the previous bills.
Second by Bill. All those in favor to pay the bills as stated? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those are paid. Mayor's forum. Nothing at this time. Thank you, Mayor. Comments and recommendations. Engineer. Dominic, would you like to give us an update?
Yes, thank you. I just want to give an update on the public park. I'm going to say they're about 50% complete at this time. The lights are scheduled to be delivered the first week in December. That'll be one of the last items to be installed. Right now, all the curbing is done, and they are prepping and are going to be doing the sidewalk. And they're going to be using cold water curing methods, where they place the concrete during the day in above freezing temperatures, and then at night, what happens is they just cover them with insulation blankets. So I just got the contractor's first application for payment today. So I wanted to, I provided documentation here to the borough, and I'm recommending payment in the amount of grant money, which is community development grant money, of $115,266.70.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that amount? I totally. Oh, the one that's right in front of my face. Sorry, Dominic.
That's fine. You don't have the papers, so you got a lot going on tonight. So that would be a recommendation that for council to make a motion for all the answers for grant drawdown after joint meeting. Do you have any questions for me?
So Dominic, we had a change order that took it down 11,000, right?
Yeah, there's a change order, increase the lights a little bit based on discussions with PennDOT to bring it down. So right now we're within budget. So right now I don't have any concerns about budgetary issues on the project.
Yeah.
And before we move on to the else, can we have a motion to approve pay application number 1 for American Asphalt for $115,266.70? Is there a motion to that effect? Motion by Bill, is there a second? I'll second it. Second by Lynn. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Leanne, if you could take care of submitting that for drawdown on the grant. Thank you.
And then the last item is just discussions on the LSA grant application for 2020. As indicated in my email to the borough, the applications submitted in 2019 that are normally awarded in March have been delayed, and it does not appear until that they will be awarded now until January of 2021. The application that you submitted in 2019. However, from my understanding, there's going to be a smaller amount of grant money because it's gaming money, and of course, due to everything going on in the world today, there's been less revenue at the casino, so there'll be less grant money. From my understanding, I don't know that for a fact, but it's just my understanding. Okay. So last year, the borough applied for $350,000 for borough office equipment, ADA accessible upgrades, exterior of the borough buildings, HVAC equipment replacement, roof replacement, and council chambers, table and chairs, and any other equipment. So we try to keep it general so then the borough could, make some decisions at the time based on whatever kind of money was obtained. Because although the borough asked for $350,000, you may get less than that. So the borough will be able to make a decision. So from the recommendation that was given to me from discussions with individuals at the state, they suggested potentially applying for the same thing that you applied for last year, and then maybe add something else on top of that, just in case you do get something from last year, you could actually then get both of them. You could adjust the adjustment. So let's see. So when we talked, let's see, apply. So some of the items that you could apply for is right now you applied for equipment for Borough Hall. You could also apply for other items. So just leave out the borough to discuss that. And if you're due to November the 30th, so you have to make a resolution tonight.
What was the discussion at the work session? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend.
It was extremely limited. My view on this is we got to get this building in order. We don't know how last year's application is going to work out. So the roof, yes. The HVAC system, yes. Handicap access for the ramp and the doors, the entryway, yes. I think we have to do handicap access for the bathrooms as well, or we're still going to be potentially out of compliance. And I don't know if we have to do anything parking lot wise, unless you're telling me otherwise, but.
I'm not sure about the handicap accessible here in the borough building. Okay, so there is one accessible. So just as long as you have one in the building, I think you're compliant. Again, I don't know, I wasn't involved with the design of that, and I was never in the ladies' room, so I don't know. I can't really make a determination on that. So anyway, the way it's accessible is that it's ADA accessible upgrades. Some of the other things were equipment systems for the borough, so I don't know, I think potentially the borough needed a new copy there.
Yes.
Like that, so that was another item. And then items into that. So you could basically do the same grant application and add, other related equipment for the borough. Potentially, I don't know if John needs anything for, he probably always needs something for, I don't know if you need another piece of equipment, John. So, I mean, just something for that, and then at least it's, if you get the one from 2019 and you get one from the 2020, you can always just say, all right, well, then we just want to buy equipment for the road crew because you already got the one from 2019. The borough already has a sizable grant application for multimodal for the streets, so.
You can wrap that all in the previous along with this additional into this application.
Yeah, I would pretty much do the same exact application, and instead of asking for 350, I would believe that the borough could ask for 400. And add like a $50,000 piece of equipment for the road crew.
Well, I really want the bathroom thing because I think that would be my motion would be,
Keep it in this building.
yeah, to definitely do the handicap bathroom. I'd rather have two than one in case one of them it turns out. I can't get any straight answers, including from the county, in terms of the actual viability of the building. I'd like to remove the council table from the 2020 application. We actually have the old original table over at the old building. I don't know, 12 feet table or something like that. That's very nice. If we get it for 2019, we get it. But I'd rather swap out the council chamber stuff for the bathroom. I think that's better for the community. So I'm okay with the application, the 2019 application as is, minus the table. The copier, I'd like to see in there. The bathroom work, I'd like to see in there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so. my
Depending on the amount of funding we can do, either the front, the bathrooms, or both.
Yeah, so, last year the borough applied for 350, I mean, that's usually like a reasonable number, 350 to 400, you want to keep it at 350?
That's fine.
350, keep it at the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what the borough could apply for, in the same thing, we would go, I would try to keep it more general, we should say borough equipment and systems. Well, I guess you could say borough office equipment, keep it the same, borough office equipment and systems. ADA accessible upgrades, exterior and restrooms. HVAC equipment replacement and roof replacement. So you can actually read this resolution as I just marked it up from last year. And that's the resolution that you could pass right now. If you want me to read it, I can read it off.
Just the highlights of what, you don't have to go through it.
Okay.
Just what we're actually applying for.
So then, in summary of the discussion, the borough council would pass the resolution tonight requesting a local share account grant for borough building upgrades. And it would be in the amount of $350,000 for borough office equipment and systems, ADA accessible upgrades, exterior and restrooms, HVAC equipment replacement, roof replacement. And then it authorizes borough council president as well as any other borough officials to execute any of the required documents.
Okay, is there a motion to apply for the outside grant as stated by the engineer?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Matt, is there a second?
Also,
Second by Shane. Roll call, Ian? Yes.
Yes.
Resolution passed. Let's keep that, get it over to you, and then you can take care of the application.
yeah, I could actually, I'll just update this one and send it to you and you can sign it.
Very good.
I have nothing further for this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
Anyone have any questions for the engineer at this time?
If anything comes up, feel free to email or call me at any time. Thank you.
very much.
She's
Well,
done.
The fire department applied for the project for the USA grants. On our own, as long as you pass the resolution on. From what we understand, we can apply for three projects.
Ron, you can talk on that. Did you have any questions?
Yes, sure, the borough would apply for more than one LSA grant.
So as long as they pass the resolution tonight first, that would allow us, we could do our own application to replace our utility truck. And we would submit our own application and pay for the submission fee.
That would work, that's passed by the borough.
Tony Branco. What's the amount on that one?
We've got one price of about $172,000 for the replace our Ford 2007 Ford. We're waiting for another one or two prices to come. They're supposed to happen by the weekend.
So what amount would we be applying for in the resolution?
I would say 175.
Is there a motion resolution for the fire department, we would have to approve it, the borough approved LSA resolution for $175,000 for a utility truck. Correct?
Yes, to replace our credit.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bill, is there a second? Second by Shane. Roll call. Yeah. Yes.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
You don't have a resolution, do you?
No.
Dominic, can you just send a resolution to Monica? For the Freeland Fire Department's applying to, but the borough has to do the resolution for $175,000 for a utility truck. If you could just send, even if you just send that on the board, that would be good. Okay. Very good. Anything else? Moving on to solicitor.
Yeah, if, you want to do it now?
Do we need to do a motion to submit it or not? Not to.
You want to include the red on version of the slip later.
Right. Correct. Okay. The motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. This is 2021 through 2023. They've traditionally been 3-year contracts. It's just John and Lorne as of right now in the streets union down there. Nominal increase for equipment, boots and clothing and stuff like that. Extra personal day. These guys have been here a long time. Slight wage increase. And if they have to work on Christmas and Thanksgiving, they get a little bit extra bucks in holiday pay. So I personally found it to be a reasonable request. So I'd like to make that motion to.
Motion by Madison, second by Bill. Roll call, Leanne? Yes.
Yes.
Good. We'll take care of it. Very good. Anyone have any questions or anything for the solicitor? Okay. Moving on to committee reports, budget, finance, administration. Let's start with the budget.
I do not want to start with the budget.
I didn't think you would.
We're gonna go through the other items on there, give folks another chance to speak, absorb things. But I do want to talk about the TAM loan, definitely.
Yeah, do you want to make a motion to request a proposal?
Yes, please.
You want a discussion on it, or just want
Yeah.
to advertise it?
Advertise for proposals in the amount of $100,000, same as last year, and I believe the year prior as well. It served us well. We paid it off in the first half of the year. Last payment was by June. So I'd like to make that motion.
Motion by Madison. Second by Bill. Roll call on that one. Yes.
Yes.
You want to take care of that through advertising proposal?
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, the solvency fee, election for relief from charges. Everybody has a copy of that in front of them. It would be $662.71. It would be election fee. And it would be what the solvency fee would be, the opportunity to appoint someone if we so choose to sign up for this loan. So we talked on that.
I just don't see what that money gets us.
Sure. We work with the large municipalities. Correct, is that your experience? Okay. All right, is there a motion to opt out of the relief from charges for the solvency fee? You want to opt out of paying that?
Oh, we have to do that? Then I'll make that motion.
Motion by Madison, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries, we opt out. So we don't have to take care of anything for that, unless you want to send PSAB, just an email saying that we did vote to opt out of the vote. Thank you. We took care of the streets contract, roof energy contract. Work session, was there any movement on that? I know Mr. Marmello was looking into anything, did anybody hear anything further?
No activity to my knowledge. I mean, if it expires, it's not like they're cutting us off from service.
No.
So
No.
I guess I'll try to find some time in the near future to look into it a little bit. And for now, we're just gonna let it expire and goes to 0.09 kilowatt hours fixed rate for a 12-month period. I don't know, maybe there's something that's out there, 0.07 or something like that. I just didn't get a time to look into it, but I will as soon as possible. Yeah. I'm happy to make that motion. It's in the amount of $1,246.19 to make sure that Leanne has heat in her office this winter. It was the same problem with the motor that they diagnosed previously, but they have a better diagnosis now. And there was also a faulty thermostat, which is outrageous to me because it's 18 months old or something like that. But I'd like to make the motion for the repairs. We do have $1,500 in the budget for repairs at this building, and this is $1,246.19.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a contract Sugar Mountain Software. Stop.
Yeah, so this is business critical software for certain. This is where we do all of our payables and receivables. Yeah, other than stormwater and garbage stuff. So if you don't have support, they won't even talk to you. So it's, Leanne, help me out. Are we on software assurance or not? Okay, we have that program. So 2 hours from software assurance would be $400. 4 hours would be $540. The 2 hours is usually enough. So I actually have this addressed as part of the budget. So see how we get through there, and then maybe we'll come back to it or something like that.
Okay. Anything else on the budget, finance, administration? Anyone have anything else? Okay. Move on to police and code. Police, I don't have anything to say. Did you get anything? Oh, okay, sure, very good. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read with them on.
Okay, thus far for November up to current date, our police department responded to 126 total 911 calls. We cleared 3 felony arrest warrants here in the borough. We're really close to making some arrests on our vehicle break-ins and our burglaries. We have a couple more interviews to wrap that up yet. November 5th, we had an Operation Treasure Lock with Hazleton City Police, Pennsylvania State Police, Freeland, and a couple other agencies that were also involved. During that Treasure Lock, we seized those 3 felons that were wanted on warrants, 400 bags of heroin and methamphetamine in a 4-hour span. It was a great, successful project, and I can assure you we have many more to follow.
Thank you to your department and the others have assisted.
Thank you.
I heard they found some creeping around out by the dump. Is that true?
They did.
But I heard too.
Thank you guys for being here. Yeah, code enforcement for the month of November. Kenny Wenner was helping out with his grandkids a little bit, so he didn't work, his regular shift, but he still managed to handle 13 incidents in 17 hours. 2 assistant code officers, 1 high vegetative growth complaint, 1 residential occupancy inspection, 2 patrols of the borough, 3 meetings, and 4 other meeting with the solicitor's office and a few inspections. For Kevin Palco, up at full speed, he had 38.5 hours for the month, and his total number of incidents isn't actually here. So I'll try to get that and have it updated for next month and get it in the minutes. Any questions for code? Not that I'm aware of.
Anything for EMA? Thank you. Anybody have anything else for police and code before we move on? Streets and sanitation. Done. Okay.
So far this month, we got a lot more patching done, let us see when. We've been all over the place for the last couple of weeks with the street sweeper, cleaning weeks up. And we got. All the banners are taken down. The hometown hero banners. I talked to Matt about this. A lot of them are faded to the form of region. They're dry rotted, they're cracking apart. We do have them separated from good ones. Matt said he put down the drive and go through it.
Yeah, we should contact her.
Yeah, we're gonna try to track people down. That'll be a mixed bag.
Yeah.
We're just about done with all the street signs, other than the stop signs and no parking signs. We had 100 tons of salt delivered. Truckload van, I skid mixed stuff, so we got 2 piles down there. Pretty good with that. The old street signs that we took down, I had a lot of people asking me for them. I'm not really giving them out. I don't know what you want to do with them.
Attorney Barranco, maybe last year McAdoo sold some traffic lights and things like that. If you do it in an auction, like an open auction format, you can do that instead of something like Munici bid. All right. We may, oh, it may have been on there anyway, which isn't the end of the world.
Right.
We have them on the side of the garage, and I guess there's some people who help themselves and go over there. I mean, it's something to think about. I don't think it's getting tired of emergency right now.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that at all? I mean, all right, let's continue to think about it. What I'd like to do is maybe one of each street go to the Historical Society. So one Center Street, one something else.
Especially the main.
Yeah, and then we see what we have after there and what the best option is, but that's a thought. In that same vein, we have a lot of furniture that was deemed to not really be useful for over in this building, over at the old building. So one of the projects that the guys will be working on over the winter is seeing if there's anything important over there, and getting it, safely moved out of there, or at least consolidated down to one room. And then over the winter, if we really don't need desks and cabinets and things like that, take what we need definitely, but maybe we'll put that stuff on municipal bid too, see what we can get out of it. And just to be clear, I just want to throw this out there. Cleaning out that building doesn't mean anything in terms of the building. There's no reason for there to be just clutter over there and stuff like that. And if we can make a couple of bucks on it, great. If somebody's gonna go in there and fix it, they're gonna need to be able to get in there without tripping over old radiators and things like that. So I do not have any nefarious plans for that building in either direction. We'll see where we are once we get organized. And they brought a lot of stuff over already.
Tailgate on our whole trailer was busted. We had it ripped out apart and just pretty much built a whole new one, kind of like a round drive up on the little trailer we have. Yeah, we had to do some major surgery on that. We got the 4 tires mounted on the Mack dump truck. We took 2 good ones off of the one we got the new ones on, put them on the other truck. So that's got 4 real good ones, and we got the 4 brand new ones on the other truck. They're ready to go. Got the salt spreaders on the 2 big trucks. They have those electronic controls on them. One's working, the other one's having issues again. So, I have called into Bradco Supply on converting it over to a manual control. I know we talked about this for that last year. I even forget what it was, like $1,200 for the whole thing to do. So as soon as I get some prices back from the guy, he's on vacation this week. We can see what we're going to go with that. Both trucks, the bearings on the auger shaft had to get replaced. Bucket truck, we put 4 shocks on it. They were shot. Oil filter, thermostat on the engine. The whole boom bucket, everything was sanded down, painted because that was all rotten. That was also a state inspection, and it was all done in-house, pretty much, just for other than some other odds and ends, some light bulbs here and there. So they get the price on the spreader control, I can back on. But
Yeah. And just in case anybody didn't hear it, aside from the tire mounting, everything was done in-house. So thank you guys. That's a lot of money when you got to send something out. The only other thing that I have under streets, this was brought to my attention. Leanne is getting a lot of calls about garbage issues with county waste. The types of issues that we're talking about are empty cans are getting left on the street instead of getting put back on the sidewalk. This is by the hauler. They're missing regular pickups, sometimes a whole block at a time, sometimes a house here and there. Bulk items, sometimes they're getting picked up, sometimes they're not. People are getting different stories if they call county waste. Scattering the garbage a little bit. I know it's windy at times, but you know, maybe there's something to look at there. And then this, you know, we have a lot of trees, we have a lot of leaves in town. So sometimes folks have extra bags outside the can, and it seems like sometimes they're getting picked up and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, and the residents, some are told they have to be on top of the counter in the time, others they take 3, others they take 6, but we're trying to get
Yeah,
a handle on.
so if you have any issues, please report them to Leanne, because then they all end up in the same bucket. And then we're gonna try to get organized and get on a phone call with our relationship person from County Waste, as well as some management over there, and have a conversation. We're entering year 4 of 5 of a contract, and there's actually a $2,000 increase next year, which the borough is going to assume. It'll go up another $2,000 for the last year of the contract. We'll see. Yeah, so that's no surprise there, but just so everybody's aware of what's going on.
I don't think it's kind of right on what a lot of that's all in. Some of the drivers are between municipalities have municipal contracts, and people who have individual service agreements. Because when I called, my son didn't have a problem, but they were told, no, you have to register this. I said, no, this is a municipal contract. You know, I think that's the problem. So,
Something that was
yeah. Once you get all the, you have to know the place.
So again, please, if you have a garbage issue, report it to Leanne. Don't call County Waste. We never hear about it. Don't post about it on Facebook, or somebody may or may not see it. just call Leanne.
Yeah, we want a consistent list so we can go out with everything, so we have a consistent answer for all the residents instead of the way it's being handled. Anything else on that? Anything else on the list?
No.
Started with Martin.
We have 21 incidents for the month, 13 hours in service. Maintenance for the month, we replaced 2 tires on the dump for 92 days and 6 tires on 2010 for last 3 We held 1 fire prevention drill at this active golf center. Training for October was 211 hours, year to date was 610.
How many potato chips did you make?
About 1,200. We sold out. So thank you everybody that supported that. We also are thinking about maybe doing the other one right after the holidays. There's a lot of requests for it after they found out we were sold out, so.
No hoagies or anything coming up?
Well, these will be in January,
Okay.
as long as COVID allows it.
Yep.
And then they'll go through to March, and we'll do our chicken barbecue in March.
Okay.
Building and grounds, pavilion building.
So, as John mentioned, I'm taking off work next week. So I'll spend some time with those guys. And that will include going down and getting the leaves out of the gutters down there. The gutter guards, we're gonna come back and revisit that next year. I know Mr. Marmello was talking about brand new gutters, potentially something that has the snap-in guards. So for now, we'll just get them cleaned out, get through the winter. And we're gonna do something PVC wise on the basketball side. So if you go on the tank side, there's 4-inch PVC that goes from, I always get this wrong, whatever, the northwest corner heading down towards SureSave, there's PVC that's actually along the side of the building the whole way and carries it. And I think we need to build the same system on the other side, take care of that water issue right on the corner of the basketball court. So we'll try to get that taken care of before the winter as well.
We have to update the alarm list for this building, or who gets called. So if we could look into that while I'm thinking of it. Thank you very much.
I forgot it too.
Anything else for building and grounds?
No.
Okay, ambulance report? Rec board, Halloween recap.
Well, first, Mary, do you have anything at all?
Their number.
And we took them down last week, the majority of the village shop.
Can that come out of the 1,200 in the budget?
I know in the past, that's what I was collecting.
So what do you guys want to do, Mary? You guys are sitting on these piles of cash, so why don't you call a meeting and you guys see and
Yeah, see what the board says. We don't have a lot of time, man.
yeah, I mean, all we could really do is take it out of the 1,200 because Mhm.
Well, regardless, we should like the tree, for sure.
Yeah, just so you know, what, next Friday, we're gonna do the community lights.
Okay,
And the weather's supposed to be fair, if you want to do the tree, get that all wrapped up.
okay. So we have to push decision turn around.
Yeah, so, Wednesday or Thursday, we'll post the polls.
Okay.
We'll always do things for-
You want to reach out to the board and see what they think about like purchasing those?
I did, we talked about it. I said it was 6, because that was before they checked them out. They told me they needed at least 6.
No, but did they talk about the record buying or? No,
They said, yeah, they said they would.
yes,
I mean, what amount of money are we talking about here anyway? Not a lot, right? 125 bucks or something, 150.
yeah, we know.
Probably about 150.
Price it out, talk through it, and then, let us know, but
Anything else for recreation?
I just wanted to mention for anybody who wasn't at the work session last week, we had the Halloween candy distribution on Halloween day. It was, folks had to sign up on a website. And I think it went really well, and I think it was really well received. And I wanted to thank the rec board, especially Mary, because she worked like a dog on that. The fire department, the ambulance, there were a few members of council there, and especially thank you to Santa. Made a special appearance driving around town.
Did a lot of cooperation.
Yeah, I don't think I heard one bad word about it. So thank you to everyone.
Acceptance of committee reports. Is there a motion to accept the committee report? Motion by Bill, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Matt. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It's accepted. And finished business. Ma'am? Okay. New business and correspondence. Did you review this at the work session? The letters we received?
Yeah.
Were there any thoughts, questions, does anyone, if you want to take action on it now, do you want to wait till the December meeting to put all the open appointments, which we need to determine how many boards are open? So do you want to make it do this evening?
I'm prepared to get this one out of the way.
Okay.
So it'd be appointing,
5 years now.
yeah, Dave Kavitsky to another 5-year term with the Water Authority, beginning 1/1/21.
1/1/21. Okay, we have a motion by Matt, is there a second? Second by Freeland, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion before carried. 5 more years. I think he's definitely an asset to the authority.
Yeah, absolutely. They got a lot of good things going on down there.
Any other new business or correspondence anyone has? Moving on, next one. I don't. I don't. 2021 tax rate. Attorney Blanco?
You want to motion to approve of the budget.
Would have to be established for 2021.
Right.
There was a quick,
Once the final budget is approved, then we can approve the budget and approve the tax ordinance.
I think that I went into the work session, however, there's intention was to delineate the difference between the 2 villages. But we can only do that once the 2021 regular starts and the budget advertised, right? Okay. Good. The 10 days extension, that would be added by resolution if the taxes remain the same as they were before.
Correct, by ordinance.
We could, if there's any. So I think the way we should do it is public input, then budget, and then public input again.
Yeah.
So just to let everybody know, this, when we roll into the budget part of it, we're probably looking at like an hour or 2 hours or something. If you're a first timer, welcome to the party. So yeah, if anybody has any public input on any of the items that we covered so far, before we go into that, you know, feel free.
Any public input? No? All right, then we'll move on to the budget.
All right.
Take it away, Matt.
Yeah, let me know before you leave the property if you can hear. Yeah. Good luck. I think everybody's got a copy, so I don't know how well this will display or not. We'll give it a try. All right, so I just want to let everybody know right away that as of this moment, this budget is not balanced. And I won't say the inevitable, so I'll start actually at the expenses tab. I'm not going to read them to the penny for right now. Everybody has it in front of them. Administration's about $303,000. You can't really compare it to last year because I did something a little bit different. I took some items out and I added some items in. There was insurance items that were in administration. Now they're in their own insurance section. That's actually employee shared expenses. Buildings and grounds is $29,066. That's a slight increase. As we get into it, you're going to find situations where we've been paying bills for things that were never in last year's budget. So an example is, you know, we were paying for natural gas from UGI at the annex. We never had a budget line item for that in the past years. So we're not necessarily getting anything new or anything like that. We're just correcting. Police department, $423,000 in the proposal. You'll see why when we get to that. That actually adds some personnel potentially. Streets department, $112,000. So that's actually a reduction based on evaluation of some of the numbers. Code enforcement department, that's an increase with the intention of adding some additional help in. Zoning and planning, that's an increase to $45,000, $45,200. The reason being that there was a request to add a full-time employee into that section, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Tax collector, we thought we were paying twice as much for the county to print our bills as we actually were, so that's a reduction down to $11,400. Fire department budget came down a little bit. Some numbers were reworked, and also we had a payment last year for the heating system from Zola's. That was from 2019. So it's basically the same, but the heating system was taken out. The employee shared expenses, that's brand new for this year, and you're going to see that that's insurances and things like that. And I just have the TAN loan repayment on the principal here, which actually is a correction right off the bat, because Lynn, you're gonna have to keep me sane here. I think I might have an extra 100 grand in here. I hope so. Based on what we have so far, our income is $982,445.23. I'll break that down further. Our expenses are $1,284,908.60. So we have a difference of $302,463.37. So that means that as we go through these, I'm going to need input from council on if we think we can modify something, if something has to be cut, or if we have to go in another direction in order to address this. So I have the TAN loan repayment here as a standalone item, which adds it to the expenses. But I have it as admin, so I can take that off. All right. So forget everything I just said. The difference is $202,463.37, and I apologize for that. I am seeing numbers in my head all the time now. All right, so I'll start with administration. So the TAN loan repayment, there it is, $100,000 staring me right in the face. The interest that we expect to pay on that is around $700. Last year, remember, we didn't even apply for the TAN loan until January, so beggars couldn't be choosers. We paid a little bit more money, so maybe we'll get lucky and that'll be more like 600, 500 and something. Secretary salary, that's not a pay raise. It was actually incorrect in last year's budget at $28,080. Based on Leanne's wage and hours, it's $33,1350. So that's a correction. That's not an increase. Secretary bonding cost us a little bit more than we thought it was in last year's budget. We thought it was $250. It was $500. Solicitor fees, $20,000. We're on track to spend about $28,000 to $30,000 for this year, but that included numerous expenses from 2019 that were unpaid. So we're going to try for that 20,000 target. Engineering fees are right around in line with what we spent, $5,000, because anything that we do out of the grant comes out of the grant. So that would just be additional engineering if we have a problem with a stormwater drain or something like that. Audit fees, we have still not completed our 2018 or our 2019 audits. And 2020 is coming around. So we'll have a $10,000 expenditure probably next month to take care of 2018, and these things have to be done sequentially. So once they get 2018 done, hopefully they can roll right into 2019 and then 2020 later on in the year. So that's why that's increased from 10,000 to 20,000 for 2021, because we have 3 audits to do by that point. The ambulance tax, we did the calculation on that. The ambulance only gets their money if people pay their taxes. So we think that $54,000 number from last year is pretty accurate. And that comes directly from the taxes. The mayor's salary is the same at $2,000. The council salaries, this is not a pay increase. There were 6 members of council who got paid in 2020. The 7th member waived their salary for 2020 and has elected not to do so, which is their right for 2021. So that 10,500 is the expected number from previous years. Advertising, you know, we spend about $1,500 a year. We try to advertise all our meetings in the beginning of the year. We had a couple of help wanted ads this year, so that's the same. Association dues, we really need to evaluate the associations that we're members of, because we're not even really sure. We're just getting bills. I mean, PA State Association of Boroughs is a no-brainer. Hazelton Chamber of Commerce, I don't know. What are we getting out of that? MCOG, what are we getting out of that? So we're sticking with the 800 number. Berkheimer handles our EIT and LST collections and distributions. So we pay $4,000 roughly per year in EIT commissions and $300 per year in LST commissions based on last year's numbers and 2019's. So we saved a couple $100 there versus what we had budgeted last year. Software, we thought we were going to spend $7,500. So that's our Cougar Mountain stuff. So to that end, we were talking about the support. So part of the support is $400 for 2 hours. Then we have $5,200 in licensing fees, roughly. So it's about $5,600 for Cougar. And then we have some other software applications that we use here and there. So brought it down from 10,000 to 7,500, and we might actually be under that 7,500, or I'm sorry, from 7,500 to 5,000. And we feel pretty good about that number. Office supplies, $3,500. We go through a lot of ink to print you out a 15-page budget, plus a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is that we're using basically home printers, that the ink cartridges are like tiny and stuff. So yeah, it'll actually pay for itself with time. Active Adult Center annual donation towards their bills, $1,500. That's always just been a standing practice, nothing new there. Fire Department Christmas lights, the $1,200, and that's mostly for the electrical, right? Because and the replacements. Yeah, so that's the $1,200. And then we just threw $500 in miscellaneous in case something comes up, something weird. Crossing guards, we did talk about this at the work session. We had 5 since the passing of Danny Bobby. There was 6 once upon a time. Council felt comfortable with the 5. So that comes to about $36,000, half of which will get reimbursed to us by the school district. We may just want to talk about reconfiguring where they are and trying to make do with those 5. Now, the kids aren't in school right now. I don't know if the kids are going to go back to school between now and next May. But if they do, I don't see any point in cutting this out of the budget because it's just going to have to go right back in there at some point in the future. So, yeah, we have, yeah, exactly. So if they don't go to school, we don't spend any money if we don't get anything back. But this is just standard practice. So I really would not recommend cutting out that expenditure. If, hopefully we get back to normal at some point here. 526 Fern, telephone and fax, 526 this building, internet. So those are 2 things that we've been paying for, but they were not in last year's budget. And this has been a practice for years and years and years, and this is why the budget gets out of whack. PA one call, we had several charges for that. So I don't think it was that $100 figure. Do we want to put something in here, or do we just want to take that out of miscellaneous and take it down? All right, I'm changing it to 0. Yeah, so that's the PA one call subscription fees item on the administration tab. We're taking that down to 0. Notary fees, we had to get something notarized this year. That could come out of miscellaneous as well. So I have that at the 0. I put some of these things just in here for discussion. Postage, when we come to stormwater and garbage, that postage is separate. It comes out of those accounts, but we have a big stack of bills here to send out and we have to pay postage on that. So that's something that hasn't been accounted for in the past. So we put $200 in their nominal amount. And training is a new item for this year. Leanne participated in the training on the Cougar Mountain software that I think was beneficial both to her and to the borough. And I go to training stuff for work. I think ongoing training for employees is a good thing. So I added $300 in there for that. So council, is there anything that jumps out at you right off the bat that seems like it's insanely out of whack or that it's something that we even could afford to cut? Is there anything that should be added on? All right, so we took it down a little bit. The bottom line is $303,633.50 after the changes that were made. Hopefully that's reflected on the other tab that I have.
Portion to garbage and stormwater. Isn't a portion of that enhanced?
No, enhanced wanted the $4,000.
Strictly for Cougar.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot for software.
It is. I think it's something that we need to evaluate next year because it's not necessarily the most user-friendly program either. There are others that are used by other municipalities and small businesses and such. So, all right, moving on to the employee shared expenses, which is a new tab for this year. Social Security taxes.
We would pay, we pay.
So last year we had it budgeted at $17,764.56.
That's for every department? Everybody's salary? It would be 0.0765 times everybody's salary. If they pay half, they pay half.
200,000 in regular salary, multiplied by 7.65, increase of 15,300. That's just on top of it.
Yeah, it seems significant.
You want to start adding up the salaries and then we'll come back to it. All right, the workman's comp, 22,500. So that includes the employees plus the fire department. Here's the big one, medical insurance. All right, so it was incorrect in last year's budget at 110,000. It was more like 101,000. However, we got a notification last week, right before the work session, that the current plan is set to increase by 8%. So that's medical and vision, which would take us up to 109,557.24. Yes. So council's working with our insurance carrier to explore other possible plans that are out there. And we would have to move on that at next month's meeting at the latest. So if anything, that would be a decrease. So if we were to advertise this budget tonight, Attorney Branco, and then that was a decreased insurance amount because we found another plan, that's going to be okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. If we were increasing, that would be a different situation. Okay. Thank you. Dental insurance, we pay about $3,100 per year for 6 employees. Life insurance, there's 2 life insurance policies, one for some of the employees who've been around longer, and then there's a new one for all the employees. So there is an overlap in some of it, but some of that was due to contractual obligations, and some of those policies are soon to come to maturity. So about $800 we pay to American One / United Life Insurance, and $996 we pay to Nationwide for the old policies. We also have accidental death and dismemberment insurance for all the employees. That's $115 a year. The new one for 2020, which was signed late in 2019 and already in place, was short-term disability, $1,405. Long-term disability, $1,810. I'll skip a line. I'll go to property, vehicle, and liability insurance. It was $24,000 through July of last year. Those insurances expire every July. So in July, it switched over to $25,500. We've been paying towards that number since. And what I put in here is a miscellaneous / mid-year increases because, you know, the property, we could consider taking it out, but we're still going to be on the hook for that. I feel like it's a nominal amount at $1,000. Miscellaneous mid-year increase. Because the property, vehicle, and liability comes up in July. So we had an increase last year in July. And the dental insurance is also coming up soon, right, Leanne? Oh, that one got done. Okay. So we could take that out. We could reduce it down. It's just kind of a safety net. And we could come back to it. All right, under buildings and grounds, we spend about $15,000 in electric. We think, Leanne, did we think about the direct energy and whether that's part of that 15,000? No. All right, so direct energy we've been paying on top of the PP&L charges. That's a new line item, around $3,000 for the year, hence the increase on this page. 801 Center Street propane for the firehouse. We said about $1,600 last year. It came in a little bit lower. It's projected to come in a little lower, so we dropped it down to $1,500. 526, this building, we do use about the $2,400 that we thought we would last year. Building repairs, $1,500. We just spent $1,300 on the heating system. We have building repairs for 801 Center. I know eventually the roof over top of the fire department offices might need to get tarred or something like that, among the other issues at that property. The groundskeeper and the custodian, we had $2,000 budgeted last year. The park was closed. We didn't end up using it. The park looked pretty good in spite of that, I think. I eliminated it this year. It was a hot topic. I think we argued about it for a half hour last year. Unfortunately, you know, something's got to go somewhere. So I took it out unless anybody has a strong objection to that. Cleaning supplies and toiletries. So this is paper towels in the dispensers, toilet paper, hand soap. We bought these new fancy dispensers for the sanitizer, cleaning spray, cleaning wipes, things like that. $1,000 we think is a reasonable number for this property. We have to clean the annex. We have people working down there. Fire extinguishers is an unexpected expense from this year, even though it's an annual inspection. So we put in the $330 for that. They come in and check them out. If anything needs to be replaced, they take care of it. Park internet, we were paying the bill, but we never had it in the budget. The police chief negotiated a pretty good rate for us that we accepted a 3-year contract back in September, I think it was. We're paying about $90 a month for that. That's $1,086.60, and that allows those guys to keep an eye on the park from the station. And I think it's been used a lot. And Borough Annex UGI, I already said we pay a bill over there, but we never had it budgeted, so that's $1,750. So does council have any additions or subtractions from this page? So that leaves us at $29,066.60. Tax, this will be a quick one. Tax collector, it's based on how much he takes in. If people pay, it's around $10,000. His bonding, we thought was $250. It's a little bit lower than that. We have it at $200, and it might actually be even lower than that. Bill printing was the change on this item. I called up to Luzerne County since they print our bills and then they send us a bill. It's $1,200. It's not $2,500. So that brought this one down from $12,750 last year to $11,400. Any questions? Zoning and planning. Zoning officer Joe Flanagan receives $2,100 per year. We have solicitor fees in there. We had a subdivision that we ended up spending some money on. So that's $1,000, which is around in line with what we spent. Administration and supplies, this would be, permit printing fees and mailing and things like that, $100. And the new item for this year was a tentative full-time zoning officer salary and benefits. There was a lot of discussion last week about hours and benefits and things. I just don't think that the borough can absorb any full-time employees at this time in this department.
It has to meet that. I thought you were looking for code enforcement. I can't fathom we have enough for a zoning officer to be here.
Well, there's nobody here to explain it to us. So from my perspective, I'm going to zero that line out and remove it, which takes the budget down to $3,200 for that section.
And that's solicitor, that's everything. You have income for hearings, we wouldn't have a solicitor unless we had a zoning hearing unless it's miscellaneous, which would get those under a regular solicitor.
I don't know if we got back what we put out. We think we put out about $1,219. This was on the Burbick Street property, the subdivision. That,
it's usually there's a section stuff not involved for everyone, but some are restricted. Correct. Correct.
And we haven't had a zoning hearing in 3 years at this point in time. At least 2 years. Do we want to take it to 500? Just in case there's something unexpected that comes up that's not covered by the fee schedule? Or do you want to take it out?
I would take it out because if I'm not, otherwise it's just normal solicitor. But if he doesn't have income to support that, there's no reason to. No, correct. But I'm saying, like, say they ask you a question, not the zoning hearing board, we ask you. That would be under regular solicitor under admin, yeah.
Want
So
to
if we
take?
had to hear, yeah, I would, because if we had to hear it, I have to take an application.
All right. So the updated is 2,200. Final answer. Now, we're gonna come back to the last issue that we were talking about here on code enforcement. So we got a second code enforcement officer partway through the year. He replaced a guy who had been here for a long time and made more money. So we talked about expanding code enforcement, right? The statement's been made before. How do you get quality code enforcement for 6 hours a week or 12 hours a week? And, you know, there may be some truth to that. So we talked to the guys that we have in-house right now. And one of them is willing to work one extra shift every 2 weeks. So we have one guy, that's the difference between $6,000 for one guy and $5,100 for the other. One guy's gonna work 6 hours a week. The other guy's gonna work 6 hours a week plus an extra 3 hours every other week. I also added a new item here to address the concerns for another 6 hour per week guy at $15 per hour for another $5,100. So that would get us to, right now we have 6 hours per week. Well, let's call it 12 hours every 2 weeks. With 2 guys, we would add the extra shift and then we would add the extra guy. So we'd be up to 21 hours. So we take it from 12 hours to 21 hours. That's almost doubling our enforcement. Obviously, we have some expenses that come from, even though they're not getting benefits, there's still Social Security expenses and workman's comp expenses there. Supplies, $500. So, you know, they have to buy tickets that they can issue. They have to buy dumpster permits, things like that. I think the $500 is in line, I would say. Court costs, we said $4,000. We did have a court incident that the solicitor helped us out with. These guys need to be able to enforce. So I think we took it from 4,000 to 3,000 based on what we were seeing. But I don't think we should eliminate it or take it much lower, because if they can't take it to court, then we're not going to get anywhere in some of these things. Training, I mentioned it before, ongoing employee training, $300. Uniforms, they got outfitted with some really nice jackets and some sweatshirts. Kenny's stuff was old, Kevin was new. We might have a new guy, so I threw $300 in there for uniforms. Which doesn't mean they'll spend it. Vehicle maintenance was something that we never accounted for. We had to put tires on that vehicle, a couple, if not, I think it was 2019. And there's some things that go here and there, so I threw $500. But the streets department guys do that work 9 times out of 10. And fuel, I didn't know how their fuel was getting paid for. They don't fill up often, so I just threw $300 in there to cover their fuel. So does anybody feel strongly that I didn't think we needed a full-time code or zoning person. I agree 100%, but I think we need more than what we have. So, yeah. And, you know, given some of the adjustments that we made, the budget last year was 17,900 and it goes up to 21,100. So it's not a huge increase in that department. Did you get anywhere on that workman's comp before we get any further away from it?
I would say most likely being at the 100.
For the Social Security? All right, so take it from 42 to 40. All right. It's $2,000. I'll take
I
it,
calculated
including the new ones. Yeah.
11.59. It took the 42 out, that was over 3, so I took it a little below 40. And then 150 is an arbitrary figure for under 40, so there may be even more wiggle room.
Mr. Purcell, it came down a couple $1,000.
Yeah, that was over 3,000 right there. So it could even go lower than 40. I would.
It's still 150 for this week.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I'm assuming.
And I was
my part-time officer.
Which is not necessarily going to be approved, we hope, but.
So I won't mark it as final. I won't update the amount yet or anything like that. I'll come back to it. Streets Department. We ratified the new contract with the Teamsters tonight, or at least we moved it forward. Foreman salary, $47,944. Labor salary, $41,080. Part-time and plow drivers. Luckily, knock on wood, we had a very mild winter last year. We waited a little bit longer than I would have liked maybe to bring back our part-time help because we really like moving there. But I think that $8,000 figure was just high at the end of the day. So I took it down to $5,000. The overtime, the guys are good about overtime and I'm a pain in their neck as well about overtime. So I took that from $4,000 down to $3,000. And hopefully that's even a little high. But if we get a bad winter, they're guys that we need to have out there. Same thing goes for the part-time plow drivers. Equipment and uniforms, that's per the contract, $500 spread across the two guys. Holiday pay, so this will come up again with the police. Based on contractual agreements, that's only if they work, right? So the borough was basically paying out the holiday pay, but it had never been accounted for in the budget. Just said, here's the guy's salary, here's the guy's overtime. It's additional pay, right? $500. Only if they work it, yeah. Annexed telephone, we've been paying a bill $30 a month. It was never in the budget. Equipment maintenance, knock on wood. Again, I've taken that down from 6,000 to 4,000. We also have some equipment maintenance that comes out of liquid fuels for the dump trucks, which is a totally legitimate expense. So this is going to be for other stuff, pickup trucks and things like that. The patching material or the patching equipment. So gas, oil, and diesel, we did not spend $9,000. So I put it in at $6,000, which is more realistic. Of course, if they're out plowing more, they might spend more, but we need the streets vehicles to be able to run. The cell phones came down this year because Chief Stepanski got us on a public safety plan that included the streets department. So we brought that down from $1,200 to $930. And I have $500 in here for miscellaneous, which is just miscellaneous. I have it in every department, just in case something unexpected comes up. The new item on here is my wish list item. It's, we used a 1970s tractor to cut the grass at the Delacrosse field, at the 4th Ward field. We actually used it in the park a few times this year. Those guys are constantly playing around with that machine. It smokes, it rattles. Eventually something's going to have to be done with it, and I would rather budget it in than not, because if we don't put it in the budget and it breaks, then we're blowing up our budget to pay for something later. The models we were looking at, including the financing charges, which the financing could potentially be more than 3 years, but I took, worst case scenario, 3-year financing, $3,000 per year to get a 0-turn mower that has the same size deck or just slightly smaller than what we have. We looked at a few of them. There was a John Deere on there.
To buy it at 0% interest for 36 months, depending on the 60 feet.
So
But
again,
that's still a solid figure.
I keep turning to people who aren't over there, but doesn't mean we're buying it. It means we're planning for the potential to buy it. That money could sit there all year. Maybe the tractor is magically repaired over the winter after taking a rest. So with that said, and even with that new $3,000 item in there, the budget is still smaller than it was last year at 100. Yeah, so I stole from other places to pay for that as well. And hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me on overtime or gas or something like that. So the total bottom line is $112,814. Any questions? And we would keep the tractor. It's not really worth selling. It has a good sickle bar on it, and that would allow the guys to go down there and they could run both of them. Yeah, run it into the ground because we're not going to get it much for it. Moving along to the fire department, chief's salary is $4,500. Communication equipment is $150. That's gonna be your pagers just in case, but the county's trying to move to the new system and there'll be new radios. So just in case the county plan gets pushed out and anything happens to the equipment, there's $150 in there. Office supplies, $100 for printing and things like that. Training, $500, same as last year, all this stuff. The maintenance goes up a little bit because there's some tires to be replaced from a tire that got cut, I think, on the interstate a couple of years ago. So it went from 6,900 to 8,500. The fire department is excellent about budgeting their maintenance on their vehicles. I don't think there's been an unplanned expenditure anywhere. So I'm okay with this increase. Gas, diesel, and oil. We think it's around that 1,750. Joey, we're still trying to get the numbers reconciled. Hopefully the price doesn't go up too much this year, but you know, we'll work it out. Fire protection and prevention supplies. This is mostly, help me out, fire police jackets. Oh yeah, which is good stuff. So it's going from 300 to 400. They have some dues for some associations, $175. That's every year. The telephone, we thought it was $750 last year. This is the station phone. There's a landline and a fax line, and that's actually closer to 600. So we figured that out and took that down a little bit. The internet, we had that scheduled a little bit high. It's about $100 a month, so that's $1,200 a year. We thought it was $1,550 in the past. $300 for miscellaneous, just in case money. The hose testing, they already knew that it's going up next year, just like many other things. It went from 1,300 to 1,400. Critical thing there. Fire police equipment, jackets, cones, supplies, flashlights, $300, same as every year. Pagers, actually, it's zero. I'm just going to keep some of these zero line items in there year over year, just in case. The supplemental insurance, this is the small equipment insurance. So the fire trucks are covered, at least to some extent. I still don't have the full picture of it under the borough's policy. We paid this supplemental insurance this year. This 7,850 figure might be actually about $1,500 high. There's a discussion that we need to have about moving the liability insurance off of the borough and onto them, which you know, obviously has a cost savings, but it may have some other implications. So that's an up to amount at 7,850. It might actually be lower. The cell phone, I already talked about switching to the public safety plan. That's $465. It used to be $500. There's 2 modems in the equipment for communicating with the county, $975. For some reason, we used to think that was $2,500. Did that plan change, Chief, or did that? Oh, that got switched over. Okay, I got you. Oh, that thing that I did that I forgot that I did. I'm sorry. And then I just have the crossed out items. We had a bill outstanding from 2019 for the second half of the new heating system over there, which I think works pretty well. So I just have it in here to show that it's a reduction year over year. I had wanted to set aside $5,000 for the streets department, the fire department, and the police department every year for a vehicle fund. But it's just not in the cards given the numbers that we have for this year. But if you're sitting here 365 days from now, you'll hear me bring it up again because I think it's an important thing to be able to have some savings to put a down payment on a piece of equipment, especially when these things are upwards of $1 million for a fire truck or $500,000 for dump trucks and loaders and things like that. So 32,770 last year, 29,165 this year, unless there's any changes from council. All right. Police, which is the last department. The contractually obligated pay increases. Chiefs up to 56,541. Sergeants at 55,411 and change. Patrolman 1, 50,980. Patrolman 2, 49,314. The 6th item on here is tentative patrolman. 3, 4, and 5, or some part-timers, or some combination of full-time and part-time guys. So we had $50,000 budgeted for 2020. We did not get around to advertising or hiring any police officers. Based on the feedback that I hear from the community, people want more police. So I increased that item to $150,000, which again is for potentially 3 part-time police officers or some combination of full-time and part-time. No, it would be 10 or 12 part-timers, you know, potentially. So it's just a pool of money, however it gets used. I don't know, maybe we'd get some applications if the part-timers could make
That's what I mean, that's
50 grand. Yeah, so it's a combination of, you know, however we decided to do it. Overtime pay, it was budgeted at $6,500 last year, but it's consistently higher. I mean, the bottom line is if those guys have somebody in cuffs over at the hospital, they can't come back and clock out. Just say potentially, yeah. So it's like pick your poison. I don't know what to
No, it
do.
is. No.
Yeah. Equipment and uniforms, that's per the contract. So it's $4,500 because it includes some uniforms for potentially new officers as well. So it would only be around $3,400 just for the 4 guys we have now per the contract. But if we hired some new people, yeah. Holiday pay, I already talked about it. So the department's twice as big, so the number's twice as big, potentially up to $1,500 depending on whether they work on the holiday or not. Shift differential is something that we've been paying out and we've never budgeted for it. It certainly wasn't included in an officer's salary. 75 cents for working the late night shifts. So that's about 2,000 hours. So that's about, you know, 40 hours in that time of night. If we have more police officers and they're working late, we're gonna have to account for it. Here's some good news. The 2016 GMC Yukon, the loan will be satisfied on August 1st, 2021. Per year, we've been paying $9,024 for that thing. And the payoff amount is $6,1656 through August. Continuing to pay on the 2017 Ford Explorer at $65,7592. That's actually a correction from last year when we thought it was only $65,25. I got my numbers directly from the bank this time. Cruiser repairs and maintenance, $1,500. Most of that work gets done in-house by the streets department. Gas and oil, they're pretty close to that $8,000 figure. They get a lot of their gas from Colello's, which comes back later as a gas rebate. Streets department doesn't get that much from Colello's because it's really, a lot of the vehicles are diesel. Otherwise, they have the Wex Bank card. And if we have more officers, we'll spend more. So we didn't spend $8,000 this year, but potentially we would spend more next year with more officers. And training, $1,500. It's been in there year over year. They don't always get a chance to use it, but it's available to them. Radio maintenance, $1,000. We're waiting to see how things shake out with the county with their digital radio system. TriTech Software Systems is Alert, which is their server basically where they have all their case information and such. It's an annual fee of $1,987. AFIS and Live Scan, so that's for the fingerprinting. We pay that to Butler. That's $800 a year approximately. Miscellaneous, $500 just in case money. Office equipment, printing and supplies, $500. 2 cell phones and 2 modems, $2,500. The modems are in the cruisers. Communicate with the county. Vests cost about $1,800 per, and they really have to be fitted to the officer. So we have 2 of them in there. So that doesn't really align with having 3 new officers, but $3,600. Internet through Penn Teledata, they're on their own internet connection back there for security reasons. It hasn't been in the budget in the past. It's $898.80. The chief negotiated, I think, a lower rate partway through this year on that one as well. The next are our expenses to our tech guy, we'll call him, American Computer Services. So it's antivirus and malware on their systems. That's $224 per year. They have a special router, something called a UTM bundle, and it's under warranty. It's expected to go up slightly next year. That's $430 annual renewal on that. The police have email, and they actually have some domains as well. So that's $215.40. That's what pays also for the freelandborough.org website, which we recently regained access to. Monthly data backup service, it's $150 a month. It comes to $1,800 for the year. It's critical. They can't lose their data. Blocks of support hours, it's $85 per hour. I have a block of 10 in there for $850. Now, last year we had $16,000 line item for internet, which we still don't know how it got in there. We didn't really believe it. I finally made heads or tails of it. So the difference between those things that I just outlined to you is $12,430. So we took that off. So it's not $16,000 anymore. It's the difference between the two. It's $3,570 for their various internet. The last item is one of my wish list items. It's 3 Axon body cameras. Hazleton City just bought about 3 dozen of them. It's the camera, extra battery, cloud storage, and warranty. The initial setup's around $1,800 per, so 3 is $5,500. And then there is a cost associated with it afterwards, about $700 a year for insurance and maintenance and such. The good thing about body cameras is that we would potentially save on our liability insurance. I didn't get a chance to talk to them, but I know it's a known thing that's out there.
Believe there were actually daily data.
Something to look into. I mean, not just you have to remove it, but.
No, I mean, given the state of financial affairs in the borough, I mean, federal uniformed officers are moving towards body cameras. I think actually potentially by the end of 2021, there's park rangers that wear them already. I think it's going to trickle down, especially in light of what we saw going on in the world this summer. As much as this pains me, I think I'm going to zero that item out for this year. And we're going to try to explore some other avenues. Maybe there's an organization in town that has a penchant for fundraising and we could work something out. I'm going to, that's, you know, that's not to babysit these guys. That's for their protection and for the borough's protection and for the citizens' protection. It's just the way that the world's going. So I know it sounds a little big brothery and a little, so with that reduction, do we have any other reductions from up above? I know this is going to be the hot one here. It's our biggest department. Let's just be blunt.
Biggest thing is, can we support the increase in officers?
So this is talking about, we have 4 officers right now that are full-time. We're talking about 3 more. If we got 2 more, that would be a 50% increase. That would get us up to 6 officers. 6 times 40 is 240 hours. There's 168 hours in the week. But there are just times of the day where you don't want, times of the night where you don't want an officer on his own. So again, in light of the financial realities that we're in, I'd like to take $25,000 off of that 150,000, take it down to 125. I don't like to do it. Actually, let me take that back. I feel like I have to do it, unfortunately. Any other items? The holiday pay, the shift differential, we just don't know what's going to come. It's, you know, the way it falls. Want to try to take the holiday down to 1,000? Shift differential, maybe we could take that to 1750. Yes, sir.
You're saying to go with full-time officers, right? That's what you were just saying. They're going to 3, you want to go down to 6.
Well, no, not go down to anything. Yeah.
Is it easier to hire a full-time officer or a part-time?
Full-time.
Full-time.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take the part-timers off the table and say, let's get 2 full-time officers. You can drop that down to 100,000. That gives you 6 full-time officers like you just said.
Well,
Am I not reading that right?
the reduction to 25,000 does not make the difference. It makes a difference between 2 and 3. It doesn't take us below 2. So again, we don't know what the configuration would be. Would it be 2 full-time guys and 8 part-time guys? Would it be 10 part-time guys? We don't know. Would it be 1 full-time and 8 part-time? It could be any combination thereof. But full-time guys, for anybody who wasn't at the work session, if they're a single guy, they're going to cost us around $10,000 to $11,000 in benefits alone. And if they have a family, it's going to be at least another 50% on top of that. So I'm trying to do something to get, yeah, I'm trying to do something to get more police officers in. Yeah. 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 It's a pool of money.
Moving forward, in conjunction with the police department and how they feel and what we can afford.
And we've given 2 opportunities for public input. Okay, and I spent a little bit of time on Facebook last week, which I should kick myself in the face for it. And I heard a lot of things about, I want more police. And then I heard a lot of things about, I don't want to pay more in taxes. We've had 2 opportunities for public comment. So now maybe this is the time. Anybody? Thank you. So with those reductions, it takes it down to 392,396.26. So do we get to reduce down the, now we get to take the Social Security down a hair? So I take it down from 40 to 38? 37. So I took it down to 37. There's nothing related to employees the rest of the way. So the new bottom line on the employee shared expenses, $203,783.24. So now we get to go back to the expenses. On the employee share?
Yeah.
I have it based on this year's.
That's what I said. Okay.
So. All right, so to recap back to the expenses, if you want to pull up your expenses page. So we were at income of 982,445.23, which is subject to change. So I wouldn't update anything yet. Minus expenses, which is I did my $100,000 correction. We just did a whole bunch of reductions. Our difference is down to $123,113.37, subject to change once we get through the income tab. I'm going to move to income. All right, TAN loan, that's $100,000 in, $100,000 out. Real estate current. So we always have a population of people who are not going to pay their taxes, period. Some of them are going to pay it at the 11th hour or pay it next year. Last year we had budgeted $420,000. I spent a lot of time interacting with folks from the county. I'm comfortable raising that number up to $430,000. So that's a $10,000 gain over last year. Real estate delinquent, We had it at 45,000 last year. I'm comfortable raising it up to 50,000. So the total taxes that we take in a year is $480,000, which is what our liability shows up at, 478,000, plus we'll get a little bit for penalties and interest. Earned income tax. This was a surprise to me. We've always said it was around $225,000. Somebody came here tonight and told me that there's a lot of senior citizens in town. Well, the reality is that we're earning around $250,000 in earned income tax, which is $25,000 over what we projected for last year or for this year. Local services tax, we thought it was $14,500. It's more like $16,000. Now, I'm a little weary of putting these numbers up this much because we might be heading back into another lockdown and people might be out of work. So council, tell me if these numbers are realistic, a $25,000 increase. But that's what we took in. That's what we took in. I mean, this is what I've learned about municipal budgeting is that some things you just have to roll the dice at some. Now they're conservative because we actually took in more than that. We took in about 260,000 for this year. So I did take it down a little bit. So I tried to balance it. Yeah, and mine are based on projections too. So I guess I'm comfortable with the numbers, but if something happens here where we go into a shutdown, everybody will be hurting the same as we are. We're not going to be unique in that way. So again, 250,000 for EIT, 16,000 for LST. Real estate transfer tax. I think the Freeland housing market is finally calming down a little bit. We actually took in $23,000 in 2019. We're projected to hit around this $20,000 number this year. So that might be a little bit high to say that we're going to hit 20,000 again next year. Beverage license tax from the LCB. It used to be $1,600 for some reason. It looks like it came down to $1,400. Maybe some liquor licenses went away or something. Cable TV franchise refund. We thought it was going to be $25,000 last year. It was like 22 and change, and it's based on the number of subscribers. So I brought it down, and I don't even know if we'll hit that $22,000 mark. Magistrate fines, we thought it would be $7,500 this year. It's projected to be more like $5,000. County and state fines, we usually get around that $1,000. If we get anything extra, it's gravy. The gas tax refund, I think I have the budgeted wrong for that for 2020, but we're taking it down because we don't have a gas station that's open. Lello's isn't open 24 hours a day. So if we use the gas credit card, we don't get the gas tax refund. That's part of the deal there. Yeah. Right. Crossing guard reimbursement from the school district. This is based on the five crossing guards, $36,000. School district pays half, $18,000. 19,000. We got 17,000 this year, but I don't know if we got a half a school year in. All right. 19.5. This is where I need an expert. Public utility tax refund, you could set your watch to that at $726.76 a year. Parking violations, we thought it would be $6,000 this year. It's more like $5,000. So I lowered it. Quality of life ordinance, I think that's $50 a ticket. So maybe we'll get more than 500, but we didn't this year. This is where it gets messy. Zoning permits, zoning hearing and occupancy fees, building and remodeling permits, and UCC permits. We have some things that are clustered together that maybe shouldn't be clustered together.
That building remodeling is really, I take that money and put it in the UCC. That's 342. Because they're not, you have a zoning permit and UCC. Your UCC is your building permit.
Get rid of this building and remodeling permits altogether. But that doesn't change the in and out at all.
Right.
Does that look like a realistic?
UCC is more than zoning.
Now, zoning permits, zoning hearing and occupancy fees, this goes back to what I was talking about.
Right.
I think we got some permits out of that subdivision deal, maybe enough to cover the 1,200 and some bucks that we put out, but I have to go back when I have time and do an autopsy on that whole thing. I don't know. Code civil complaints, we just had a huge judgment. I think it might be an appeal, but you know, we put $1,000 in there. Hopefully we get that. We didn't even get that much this year. Moving permits, we thought we were going to get $500. We just didn't get that. $100, maybe more code enforcement will lead that to go up, but I'm just not comfortable saying that we're going to get. Then we'll get sued. Demolition and dumpster permits, we thought it was going to be 500. It's actually closer to 300. Yeah. Landlord tenant permits, that's another thing. It's almost on the honor system. We have to find another way to go about it. 350, we took it down to
I
175.
think if we get an additional code, maybe they could assist with filling that out.
Yeah.
Keeping track of it.
Do we want to raise it up over the 175? We didn't even get that much. I think we only got $100
We
this year.
certainly have more landlords than that.
I've heard in upwards of 60% of the houses are rentals. Want to put $200 in there?
At
Little-
least. I mean,
250.
I think if we're gonna have the
All right, 300. That's in line with the dumpster permits. So landlord tenant permits got corrected to 300. Amusement taxes, we think it's around $1,200. Maybe it's a little bit more. I think we still have to do the billing for that for this year. So I want to follow up on that next week. Handicap sign fees, they pay when they get the sign put in and they pay a renewal fee. So we thought it was 1,500, but it's more like 1,000. But I think we may need to check our records on that. Police reports, there's no way that we were ever going to get $500 out of police reports. So I lowered it to 100. We got 0 this year and I think 0 last year too. Winter services agreement, we just ratified that. I wonder if that number is lower than it should be. But I forgot to look it up. 5596.38 for the winter services
Is this
agreement.
the figure we actually got? Mark?
That's what we got paid this year,
I don't think we got paid it.
or that's what we're supposed to get paid for 19, sorry.
No, I think that's.
All right. Fuel reimbursement from garbage and stormwater, just, you know, a couple of bucks, $600, take it out of garbage, $1,200, take it out of stormwater.
Right.
Area aging, snow removal, did we get paid for that? I don't know. Is that $1,000 accurate? I don't know. Is it based on, is it a moving target?
Usually contractual. I haven't seen the paperwork on that lately.
So this is income, so we could get away with increases, Attorney Branco, on the income? All right. Recycling, we don't think we got anything this year.
We would have had to file.
I think the last time we got it, it was $289.
You have to file the fund by the end of February. That-
Department of Probation, it's, if it shows up, then we got around, you know, maybe $1,400 this year, but there's no guarantees there, so I put it in as 1,000. Employee healthcare 10% contribution, so this is based on the increase. Yeah, so 10,955.72, they pay 10% of their healthcare, and that's just for the medical and the vision. Salary reimbursement from garbage and stormwater. Our streets department employees and our secretary spend time on activities that are related to stormwater and garbage. Leanne does the billing, John cleans the grates, John picks up the trash that's blown around town, so we reimburse the salaries. In the past, it's been as high as 20% from each.
I mean, just the street sweeper use alone for.
I could see it for stormwater, yeah.
Yeah. Garbage.
Which is why, actually, the stormwater that I had last week was 10%.
Garbage.
All right, can you do me a favor and work on the storm water on the, because you didn't do enough of this all day, right? Thank you. All right, so we're gonna leave the garbage at 10%. Well, what about Leanne for garbage? Well, that's less bills. There's more bills for stormwater. I'm okay with the garbage. Let's just play with the stormwater. So we'll keep it at 10%. Just salaries. No. And garbage, we're pushing it anyway. All right, so we'll come back to those figures. They'll be going in. The new ordinance that we have this year is the fire pit ordinance, up to a $600 fine. I put $500 in there just to put some amount for the first year. I don't know, maybe we'll get a couple $1,000 if people can't behave themselves. And I just put these other items in here just to show you, and it looks like I actually didn't carry them over, but we had about $4,000 in additional income for workman's comp in 2020. We sold the Crown Vic for $2,600 on municipal, give or take. We sold the old traffic lights and poles for about $350 on municipal. We had a $1,000 donation from the Garden Chen for COVID expenses. And we sold some zoning books for $60. I know that one is. I don't know why in this version that stuff didn't carry over. But our income, that was extra income that we generated in the borough through the sale of things and through happenstance. Did I move on to stormwater? Okay. So we'll come back to that income, which will go up a little bit. Stormwater. So I'm trying to wrap my hands around this stormwater and garbage billing. I think that if we bill it out and everybody pays it, it's around $210,000, which obviously we know that we have a problem with people not paying it, which is why the next item is delinquent stormwater income. I have every intention of pursuing delinquent stormwater and garbage as aggressively as possible next year. We have we have over $100,000 outstanding in each of them. So I'm targeting to recover the first $50,000 next year. We should have a balance at the end of this year in stormwater and in garbage. In stormwater, I'm estimating it to be around $80,000 after we pay off the loans this year. We have a November loan, probably came out, but we have a December loan coming. And that's a conservative estimate. It might actually be higher. So we should have at some point next year around $340,000. Some of you have heard me say this at least 10 times, but I'm gonna say it an 11th time. We absolutely have 2 loans for stormwater work that was done years ago. One of them is $40,306.92. The other one is $59,911.68. We pay that through direct debit every month. Street sweeper payment is actually, it was off by about $2 and change. It's $12,882.71 annually. We have $5,000 set aside for capital improvements, maintenance, engineering for storm drains. We repaired a storm drain over by the ambulance building. We have a couple others targeted for this year. So we're in the stormwater section. So do you have those numbers for me? All right, 6602 is the first one. All right, 660270 for the secretary. John? 9588. 958880. It almost hurt me. 8216. All right, so that's 20% out of stormwater, updated from 15%. And I think that is, in my view, legitimate. No, I'm gonna do it next before I forget to, because we need it. Can you just keep those right in front of you because I can't copy it over? All right. All right, so Leanne from stormwater.
958880. It's not.
958880.
and 8216 And I don't want you to think we're doing this last minute, because Matt and I have done this several times. However, he did not finish this spreadsheet until about 3:30 this morning, and then still worked on it after.
I apologize, but
This has been a work in progress.
we're trying to give everybody as much peek behind the curtain as possible, which I think was lacking in the past. All right, so the income figure is updated. 990,172.11. And I don't expect it to be changed again. So we're done with, oh, I'm gonna come back to stormwater. So that closes our gap. 115,386.49 is our difference between our income and our expenses. All right, continuing along with stormwater, fuel reimbursement to general fund, that's the $1,200 out. Stormwater materials and supplies, 5,000. We have to buy brushes for the sweeper. That could come out of here, come out of liquid fuels, come out of some combination, but stormwater solicitor fees and court fees. I want to talk about this one. So in the past, we've called it $3,000. We did file some liens this year. I think that maybe it needs to be higher than the 5,000. Yeah, do we want to take that up to 10,000? I think we're looking at about.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
We
And-
need to pursue that.
Yeah, and again, this has nothing to do with taxes. This is coming out of the stormwater. You have to spend money to collect money. Stormwater postage, Leanne's pretty comfortable with that $3,000 figure. Stormwater printing fees, $500. MS4 annual permit renewal, that was something that we were on the hook for, but we didn't have the budget. Yeah, to DEP for 500. So after the changes, the update is $162,708.81 versus the 340 that we take in. I just wanted, it looks like a war chest, right? But we don't know if we're gonna have that $340,000. Just to give you an example, while we had the park sidewalk torn up, I got in touch with Dominic and I said, what if we put an 18-inch pipe in there for a storm drain later? We don't necessarily connect it, but we do it right now. It's $200 per linear foot. So it would have been $150,000 to run a storm drain underneath the sidewalk at the park. Just to run the pipe in. It has to be laser leveled and all these other things. So when we talk about streets like Ale Street and how they don't have any curbs and they don't have any storm boxes and they don't have anything like that, I mean, we could rip through on a big project. And I have 3 more years on this council, and I do plan to do some stormwater improvements, replacing some existing drains, putting in some additional drains and doing things like that. So that money could be gone in the blink of an eye. So while it looks good right now, it's contingent on people paying their bills and things like that. So. How much, which part? It's $200 per linear foot. It's a 750-foot span. So we would have spent 150 grand just to drop the piping in there, which might have helped with a lot of things at the park, but it just wasn't in the cards, especially after they'd already broken ground. So I got a lesson in that respect. It's expensive to maintain a stormwater system. And don't forget, with the guys taking care of the drains and taking care of the outlets, we passed our MS4 inspection with 0 follow-up, 0 issues, passed it with flying colors on the first try. Yeah. Garbage income, again, I estimate it to be for a full year around $304,785. Again, I want to pursue $50,000 worth of the delinquencies. We think we're going to have about $25,000 left in that account at the end of this year. The reason being, we actually had to pay December 2019's bill. Yeah, I am actually adding it in to the balance. We're going to go for 50,000. How much is delinquent? Over $100,000. Because where else do I just wanted to reflect it somewhere.
You don't need to account for it in your budget, though.
All right, I'll move it over
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just wanted to understand what we
No,
were playing with. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I apologize for
No,
that.
no.
County waste, I already told you, it's going up $2,000 next year. But the borough's gonna be able to consume that. We're not gonna pass the cost along. I almost forgot my good news that I have to go back to on stormwater. Street sweeper payment, $12,882.71. Garbage solicitor fees, court costs and liens, we took it up from 5,000 to 10,000. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Printing's about 500 because there's only 2 bills versus 4 stormwater bills that go out. Postage is 1,000, again, it's less. Salary reimbursement for Leanne is 3301.35. Salary reimbursement for John is 4794.40. That's why it didn't say, it said benefits on the other one. I have to correct that. John, Lorney's 4108. Fuel reimbursement to the general fund 600. And last year we were budgeted 250 for bulk stickers, but we don't do bulk stickers anymore. So bottom line there is 264,186.46. And again, we can only make it work if people pay their bills. I want to go back to stormwater because that stormwater income number's a little bit on the low side. And I want to explain to everybody what I don't want to do. So everybody knows that I'm the increase the taxes guy. But I also want to give back where it's appropriate. So we paid off one of 3 stormwater loans last year. But we're still charging as if we're paying against 3 of them. So what I want to do in terms of stormwater is I want to reduce the payment to the borough by $3.50 to take it from $14.50 down to $11. And my numbers are based on the $11 figure for the income. $2.50 of that would come off from the borough, and $1 would come from removing the money from the Freeland Business Development Authority. I did not get the information that council requested from the Development Authority. I know there's an ordinance in place that covers that. But my position is that that money is better with the citizens than it is with the Development Authority.
Did you approach them with that? I'm just wondering what they're exactly.
No. The last time I tried to reach out, I didn't get what I asked for, so I've kind of reached my limit. We could adjust the income numbers for certain. I mean, that would just increase our income. It wouldn't reduce. But that's what I'm proposing. So any tax increase, if it comes to that, would be offset by the fact that folks would be saving, you know, $36, $42 per year. So if your taxes, and I'm just throwing a number out there, if your taxes are getting increased by 50, but you're getting 42 back, then they're really only going up by $8. I'm trying. Any questions on stormwater aside from the income question, which I'll highlight in yellow here? If I put that dollar back, it's 12 times the dollar times 1583 properties. Any questions on garbage? All right, that takes us to the last one, liquid fuels. It's not good. Our liquid fuels allocation was supposed to be for 2020, $120,000. I don't think we actually ever got that much. I think that was a projection.
You know what our figure was, Leanne?
All right. For some reason that I don't know yet, our liquid fuels allocation dropped down to $105,840.05 for 2021. That number came directly from the PennDOT rep. I haven't heard of other municipalities being reduced. So I really hope there was a typo somewhere along the lines or something like that. But I mean, that's the number that was in the letter in September. I expected it to be flat. I really didn't expect it to come down. Now here's where we have a problem. I have the estimated balance in here as well. reflected as income. Which I'm still not entirely sure why that's not the appropriate thing to do, because it would be money that we could use for next year.
You can use it, but it's not really income. It's your, you would have,
It's-
I mean,
Yeah, it's not additional income, but it's still available for use. So for me, that 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other, because we could still spend it next year. It's not like we're gonna give it away. It's not like we're gonna reallocate it to somewhere else.
no, but then you're looking at bringing your fund down to zero. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah,
you're
what?
saying you're starting balance, and this is still up to top of your account on March 1st.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't count on that still.
Well, then we have a lot of playing around to do on here then. So let me move down into the expenses. So we thought that street lighting was $45,000, but it's actually more like $55,000. Street materials, so we plan to have at last year, 28,361.12. That's why we talked about paving Yale Street, it fell through. Talked about paving Sable Street, it fell through. That's the last thing that gets populated after everything else is taken care of. So that's where the 14,811.32, that was all that was left after I did the other things. So surface treatment, salt and anti-skid, we said $15,000 for the year. We just bought 100 tons at 7,000. Yeah. So, so I lowered that down to 10,000 because we have the 240 that we have to buy on the contract minimum. Yeah, so we could get another, 200 more tons out of that amount of money. Street sweeper payments, 12,882.71. Caterpillar payment. So last year we were budgeted for 12,259.50. We actually ended up paying $23,000 and change, which was like a double payment, and shame on me. I signed that check and I never even questioned it or knew it or what. I'm hopeful that that means that we're paid off, but nobody's getting back to Leanne. So I put in, every year we keep saying the Caterpillar's paid off, and I think next year is supposed to be the partial payment, but I hope we get some good news that there's a credit or something coming in. So what I put it at is a half payment for next year, $6129.75. The vehicle maintenance is, that's gonna be our dump trucks, but it could also cover our street sweeper. I can't see why not. 5,000. So we split the vehicle maintenance between the tax money and the streets department and the liquid fuels money. Signs and poles and things like that. We did a lot of sign work this year, but we put 1,500 in for next year. So here's an unknown, right? We applied for this big multimodal grant for, I think, $1.4 million. If we get it, we committed to make a match of $13,016.27. If we don't get the grant, at least we get this money to come back for patching and paving and things like that, but we have to plan as if we're gonna get it right now. So I have this zeroed out, but the only reason it's zeroed out is to carry the balance forward. No, we're still gonna have some patching and stuff like that. I mean, so if you're telling me that I should be taking that 12,500 estimated balance out, not end this year with zero. I want to carry it forward to next year.
I know, but then you're gonna end next year with zero.
Well,
If you balance your budget and you're using your starting cash.
I know, but remember that we ended 2019 with negative 660 bucks.
Yes, and we don't wanna ever do that again.
We don't,
We
but
respected all those bills.
But this goes back to the infamous street sweeper discussion, right? So we have the street sweeper payment and the Caterpillar payment, that's 18,000. So we're pushing up against that 20% that you're allowed to use for equipment purchases on the, and hopefully that payment of 6,129 is not, hopefully we're paid off on it. So I don't know what to do with these numbers here. And that really doesn't give us much in terms of asphalt and cold patch at 14,811.
And you're gonna need it for that you remember around time. Even if the last one would be 17, because 18 wasn't even be done yet. I don't have a debt schedule, which will at least tell me the years they're paid off.
We can't take anything from street lighting.
No,
I've taken surface treatment down as far as it could go. God help us if we have a bad winter. Street sweeper payment is what it is. The vehicle maintenance, I mean, we can't have vehicles out of commission, the dump trucks and such. There's literally nothing to take from it unless we just say we're not going to do any patching at all next year. Yeah. This goes back to the taxes thing. You know, we don't take any tax money to do any road work in this town at all. And we're not even using, there's communities that use their entire liquid fuels just for patching the roads, $100,000 a year or more.
well, regardless of what can happen, any kind of position will do anything. Luzerne County did not certify our assessed values for the year, did they, for 2021,
On the properties.
so that we know what, for sure, what the solid number is to calculate the taxes off.
I have the liability report for 2020.
No, this would be the total assessed value for the whole town.
Oh, yeah, it's the same as last year's. I have
Yeah,
that.
but they certify that was theirs.
I don't know if they did that yet, but it's 114,103,400. And that's what it was for the prior
And
year as
that's
well.
not including any exempt properties.
There were no exemptions. That's,
There are,
well, I mean, that's after. the
in that
exemption.
figure. There's none in that figure.
Right.
I'm sure there was tax appeal hearings and changes, and there should be some changes to the assessed values, up and down. Just to know we're going with a legit figure. I don't see this needs to go crazy. I don't. Can we continue this to hash out all this?
We can, but we,
I don't want to go to the next meeting to advertise.
no, I mean, I've been trying to hash and trying to hash
I
and
know.
trying to hash.
But if I can, yeah, as far as I know, they haven't, I didn't get it in front of them, so I'm sure they haven't got it.
I mean, that's not going to do anything. This question that we're answering right here isn't going to do anything in terms of the tax question, because we're in the liquid fuel section.
No, but the assessed value was, so I can know what a solid number is at the millage we're currently at, and then back it out.
Do you think it's going to go down?
It can go both ways. Permits get sent to the county, so they reassess, you know, if you add an addition or, and then by the same token, if people appeal them and it goes down, you know.
All right, well, in the meantime, since we managed to get this number down to 115,386.49, assuming that nothing changed at all in terms of these property assessments and such, my proposal is going to include a 1 mil tax increase, which will get us an additional 114,103.40, represents a 23.9% tax increase. 1 mil. Just 1 mil gets us 114,103.40. 4.2, but it's 3.7 for municipal and
3.7 general fund, 0.5
increases our tax revenue from the 479, 238.28 to 593, 337.68, which seems to me like it's in line with other municipalities when we consider what we have a police force. It's very similar to right over there where there is none. So was a balloon payment for this year?
That's what it looks like, right? Isn't this would have to be the same, right? It's not the lease, it doesn't say what it is, but
That's not even the right number, I can tell you that much.
then interest that would be that. But that, don't forget these are projections.
All right, so they came a little lower, so is that it?
But if this is the time, you have to know, the one that's bought the DCD shows that each line.
I mean, there's nothing else, there's no other piece of equipment that we own that could even possibly, it's gotta be it.
But that doesn't help us here.
No. So are we gonna make a motion
Do we
then?
even have a thing? Or we don't?
Yeah, I forgot about the fact that I kind of, Shane, are you still there?
Yeah. Yes, can you hear me? Matt, can you hear me?
Hey, Shane?
Can we even? No.
Matt, can you hear me?
Hey, Shane,
Matt,
can you hear me?
Matt, can you hear me? Matt, I can't hear you.
Here he comes. He read my mind. Shane, I want to apologize because I bet there were times that you were talking and I had it on mute. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you were following along. You did, I mean, we did what we could do. There was really no, we've looked at this so many times. Did you have any input on any particular items, increase or decrease or anything?
No, my only comment thus far is just that I did, I think we all support we chose to take body cams off, correct?
Yes, we did. And we're gonna explore another avenue.
Yeah, I support the body cams and, I think we'll have some luck with the other avenues. That's my only input thus far. I think we're in a tough spot, so.
Yeah, so we're leaning towards, I think, trying to continue this meeting to another date. There would have to be a motion to that effect. Do we want
Yeah,
to,
I figured that.
do we want to go with next Friday night, the day after, on Black Friday, 6 o'clock PM? Does that work for everybody who's here now?
Yeah, that was good for me.
Okay, doesn't work for the solicitor, but we might be able to work around that. All right, so I'll make that motion to continue this meeting to, Friday, November 27th at 6 o'clock PM.
All those in favor to continue the meeting to November 27th at 6 p.m.
All right,
Any opposed?
all right.
Really, really okay.
All right, thank you, Shane. We're probably, is there any other, are we done? Are we adjourning or are we going with any public input
Well, at
based
this
on?
point, God bless you.
Yeah. Anybody, anything at all? All right, thank you for your time and for, yeah.
I have no problem with my own property. I really think we need to look at other sources of revenue that can get into the borough for your little idea about the 5,000 here, 5,000 there. Check into our county the local tax rate, 1.5. You got $250,000 coming in. 0.5% goes what? The school district, you get 1%, correct? If you were to raise it 0.5%, there's 125,000 more coming into the borough.
Yes, we would, and I appreciate that, but we're just kicking the can down the road in this town. Taxes have remained flat since 2017. People are not going to get away with paying $300 on average in perpetuity for the rest of the time. So it's either do it now or do it another time. The average is $300, $308 per property per year.
companies are renting this. If you impose the business privilege tax, the people owning rental properties would have to pay you up.
Well, assuming that they're configured in the way that they should be.
Honestly, we have the same tax return, it should be on the local tax return, but I don't know.
I hear you. Anything else, Shane, from anybody else or from Shane? All right, thanks, Shane. Safe travels. Good luck down there. All right, see you. Take care. Yep. All right, you too. Thanks, bye. Yes, that, which is the 5 that we always had. Nominal wage increase, talking like less than $1 per hour. I don't know what I can say. 50 extra bucks per year for boots and uniforms. Premium holiday pay just for Christmas and Thanksgiving if they work, because it sucks to be away from your family. And an extra personal day, go from 5 to 6. And the guys have been here for 19 years and 12 years, 10 years. So.
Can I get a copy of it?
Did they snag them all?
Mine is completely written.
I'll tell you what, Jim, I will email you the updated version of it. If not tonight, tonight I'll do it, in fact. Because you're welcome. Good luck.
I'll tell you, thank you.
And if you need anything, Jim, just let me know. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. I'm gonna give you.
Same one.
Nice.
Don't swap them out.
Yeah, you don't want what's on there.
I'm just gonna give her all these letters.
Yeah, yeah, then I don't have to do it. You know what, Jim? I think there's a copy here.
Oh, but the copy that I'm gonna send you is better. That's okay. Significantly better. That's it. I know how that goes. It should be a little easier next year.
It should be better for the rest of time after this, because that's what my whole thing is like, put it in place that a monkey.
He wanted the delineate supplies out, and I said, don't you dare.
This much for sanitizer.
He
This much.
wanted